Okay, welcome ladies and gentlemen to Kieno Training Systems. This is Kieno Thomas ATP Piper Seminole Simulator. What I've done is I have the left engine running, and we're going to go through a engine start procedure. As you can see, the right engine is completely stopped. If we look at the panel here, we have the left side, and everything's operating fine here. We have cylinder head temperature slightly high, fuel pressure's up, oil pressure's in the yellow, oil temperature has not really come up yet, and the fuel gauge there. On this side, the cylinder head temperature as opposed to this one is totally leaned to the left. The oil pressure is totally leaned at zero, and there's no fuel pressure. The oil temperature is also laying all the way to the left. Until we get the simulator set up, I'm just using the simulator and I'm trying to get it prepared so I could do like a cold, dark cockpit, so to speak, where everything's completely off and you start it like you would in real life. I'm setting that up. I don't have that down yet, and I will get that squared away. But in the meantime, what I would like to do is just go through the flow of the checklist for the engine start procedure, so you could at least start it and get everything going, and to actually walk you through the procedure. So without further ado, we'll just get into it. Our parking brake is set. Airplane status: airworthy. Aircraft is airworthy. All the papers are on board. Arrow: airworthiness certificate. The registration, radio registration, operating limitations, and weight and balance data. The weather is suitable. As you can see, it's pretty much a VFR day. That's pretty much it there. Baggage weighed, stowed, and tied, secured. We've computed our weight and center of gravity. Navigation's planned. I guess we're going to fly out to the northeast. Charts and navigation equipment on board, performance and range computed and safe. Inside the cabin, so go and let's see here. 1 second. Okay, go to start. So the pre-flight's already been completed at this point. We're going to go to the start engine checklist. Our seats are adjusted. Our seat belts, shoulder harnesses are fastened, adjusted, and locked. Check the inertial reel. Parking brake is set. Circuit breakers check in. We would roll our fingers across the circuit breaker panel and make sure nothing pops out. Radios will be off. Cowl flaps open. Cowl flaps are open. Carburetor heat off. Carburetor heat is off. Alternator on. Prop sync manual. Okay. Fuel selector on. It's the right engine. Go down to the fuel selector. And the fuel selector, right fuel selector is in the on position. Mixture rich. Throttle 1/4 inch open. Just push that up just a little bit. Prop full forward. Master switch on. Electric fuel pump on. And we just saw the fuel pressure needle come up. We'll turn it off just so you can see it. When we turn the fuel pump on, the pressure does come up, indicating that the system is on and pumping fuel to this engine, feeding fuel to this engine. Ignition switch on. Propeller area clear. You'd open the door and say clear prop, and the rotating beacon would be on at this point to any passersby that want to indicate that the engine is going to start. Primary unlocked. Starter engage. Maximum 8 seconds. And she's rolling. We can see our RPM indicator. This is the left engine, this is the right engine. The manifold pressure came up as well. We'll pull it back to match our other throttle. So now at this point that engine is up and running. We can tell by the RPM indication, as we noted earlier. Our oil pressure on the right side, these are our engine instruments for the right side. The oil pressure is up. The cylinder head should come up a little bit momentarily, and the oil pressure should come up as well. So starters engage, we adjust the throttle, oil pressure we have checked, and we would just repeat for the opposite engine. So we'll go ahead at this point, turn the fuel pump off, and the engine is still running. Alternators are on. We'll look over to the suction gauge, and the nipple is in. I should have just indicated, I took a look over there just to make sure, but the nipple would be out, and that engine is not operating. Alright, so gyro suction is checked at this point. Okay, so that's pretty much the normal engine start checklist. Alright, so at this point, what we'll do is we'll just bring the throttles up to, just put that float there. And just pull this back so we can get a better view. And we'll go ahead and we'll adjust the throttles for 800 to 1000. RPMs. Now the throttles are here, and the engine RPM is here, so we'll slowly advance the throttles up to bear with me a moment as I get used to these controls. I ordered a multi-engine throttle quadrant, so I don't have to hit buttons. Okay. So there we are. Our throttle is adjusted for 1000 to 1200, sorry, for warm-up. Okay, so that is the engine start checklist, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching. Piper Seminole. Okay, at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get into the, we've done the engine start checklist. If you have not seen the engine start checklist, I encourage you to look into the Piper Seminole checklist. I'm not playlist. I apologize. Alright, so at this point we're going to get into the taxiing checklist. Chocks are removed. We'll take a look around the taxi area and make sure that we are clear. And go ahead and we'll get a pushback. Okay, that should be enough space for taxiing. Let's go ahead and we will re-engage our park and brake for a minute. Alright, so we're checking our brakes. Steering we're going to check. Heater and defroster we will not worry about. And we'll just make sure that our fuel selector valves are in the on position. Full forward, left and right engine, fuel selectors, which are right there, are in the on position. Okay, and we're going to taxi runway 6, and then we're going to perform the ground check. So we'll go ahead and release the brakes. So we will just bump the throttle up a little bit. Okay, and we will brake test. Aircraft is, we let it roll forward and the aircraft came to a complete stop. And we'll advance the throttle a little bit more. And we'll roll there. We'll do another brake check so it's more noticeable. Boom, there we go. That was a complete stop. Let the thrust take again and we'll start our taxi. The 3416, and this is Trenton Mercer Airport in Ewing, New Jersey. Just take a glance at the approach area, runway 16. There's no aircraft coming. Take a glance there at the other side. There's no inbound aircraft, even though we are cleared to taxi. We still, for safety, just take a little glance. It only takes a couple seconds to take a look. This rudder's a little squirrely, but we'll try to make do what we got here. But everything seems to be going relatively smooth at this point. There is Trenton Tower, and on the right hand side we should be coming across the Frontier Airlines area. ways to go, but the buildings are pretty much over there to our right slightly, where I'm centering the view pretty much. Currently on taxiway Alpha. We're going to execute a right turn on the Juliet, and that will bring us to the approach end of runway 6. It's funny because the simulation airport of this video is Trenton Mercer Airport, and it's the same airport, same place where I actually did my Piper Seminole initial training. So it's kind of funny how history repeats itself, so to speak, simulation-wise anyway. Okay, there's our taxiway. We're currently on Alpha, and the taxiway sign is telling us we can execute a right turn on the Juliet, and we will do so. Now the objective of this video is to make the operations as realistic as possible, to touch the same controls that you would actually touch on the real airplane, so you can practice. And the cool thing about this is you can watch and walk through the video and go through it, and without burning airplane fuel or a flight instructor's, or paying for a flight instructor. So the cost is reasonable. It's free. Okay, now what we would do is kind of go off to the side here, and it's always a good idea to just position aircraft into the wind. And if any other aircraft want to get past us, if they're ready for takeoff, they can get around us. So that is the purpose, pointing into the wind, so we have airflow for maximum cooling. It's the engine cowlings. Let's see here. I think I'm going to go to virtual cockpit to see how that works for us.
Contact New York 118.975. Going to 118.975. Orbit 322.
Okay, we'll go ahead and idle at about 1,000 RPMs. You can see RPM gauge there, so we're idled at about 1,000 RPMs. And we will go to the before takeoff checklist. Okay, the parking brake is on. Our left and right, the red knobs, the left and right mixture controls are full forward. Just move around a little bit. Our prop controls are full forward. Right prop, full forward. Left prop, full forward. Prop sync, manual. and we're going to slowly accelerate the throttles to 1500 RPMs, watching our RPM gauges here. So slowly advance the throttle. Full RPM gauges read 1500 RPMs. Okay, at this point we're going to check the feathering, and we should get a drop on the RPM gauge and a rise on the manifold pressure gauge. 1, drop. 2, slight rise in RPM, and we'll do it a third time. Okay, so that is a normal indication. We'll do the left side. So 2, 3. Very good. Check this out. We had a maximum. The max drop is 500 RPMs. Go ahead and advance the throttle to 2000. Okay, we're at 2000 RPMs. Carb heat, we will check. And right side. Now the funny thing about the simulator, we're going to actually have to go to the right view of the cockpit from the right seat and get this knob. It's bad because we can't really get a view. Boom. So carb heat off, carb heat on, off, carb heat on. Now the funny thing about the simulator is that we did not get a drop. You would get a drop in the actual aircraft when you check the carburetor heat. Magnetos. Let's go back. Back. 3. Now we're going to check the magnetos. Alright, for the right side, right engine, magnetos off, magnetos on, off, magnetos on, left magneto off. Okay, and then now we would go to the second, the left side, and we would do the same thing. Now the simulator does not indicate a drop in RPM, but that's what you would expect. You would press this magneto, you get a drop on the RPM, and we turn it back on and it would jump back up. Now, as the magnetos drop, you want to note the 2 indications from the left engine and the right engine, and there should be like a half a click. Each click is 100 RPMs. You don't want any more than a half a click between different indications from both of the needles when you test each side. So at this point we would go to the alternator output. We would check that. We would look over to the suction gauge, make sure that the suction was in the green or between 4.8 and 5.2 inches of mercury. This is graduated in inches, so 4.8 and 5.2. Alright. And it's a little high because we have our engines revved up a little bit. And so after that point, when we check our suction, what we're going to do is bring our throttles back to 1,000. So we slowly advance back to 1,000. Fuel selectors rechecked it. They're in the on position. and they are in full forward position. Electric fuel pump's on, right fuel pump on, and we should get a jump in fuel pressure. As we turn it on, we'll note the fuel pressure there. We'll go to the switch, we'll hit it. That needle jump to fuel pressure here. Go to the left, hit the button, bang. And I'm sorry, that needle right there is the fuel pressure. So the fuel pumps are on, alternators on, engine gauge is in the green. We can kind of go up, and so we notice that the temperature has come up in the cylinder head temperature from when we started. Fuel pressure's in the green, oil pressure's yellow. As long as it's there, it's good. Oil temperature is in the green, that's come up. So our engine instruments are in the green. Annunciator panel, we don't have a button for that in the simulator, but we press it and it would just light up alternator and vacuum, and we'll press it to make sure the lights work. So after that annunciator panel check, we go to the altimeter. We check that and set it. We don't need to set it. Trenton Mercer Airport is about 213 feet above sea level. That is set. Attitude indicator is erect and stable. We could just line it up with the artificial rising. We've done that. DG, check. Spin this around. And we're about parallel with the runway 6. And we can see 060 in the heading indicator. So we're slightly pointing to the left of the runway's magnetic course. Clock. And check to make sure that's running. So we set our departure time. Mixtures set. We would check the primers here. We would just gently pull back to make sure that the locking pins are secure. We do not want this out and open when we are taking off, because it would not ensure that we were getting proper fuel pressure. And since we see the fuel pressure, we know that it's good because we have the fuel pumps in the on position. But we still want to make sure that they're in and locked. We don't want anything hindering us or starving us from fuel on departure. So primers are in the lock, propellers are set in the forward position. Quadrant friction, that is just a little mechanism that we use to make sure that these aren't moving too freely. Okay, we want a little bit of tension there. We don't want to just be able to bump the throttle and it moves. So the friction, quadrant friction is set. Carburetor heat, off, left side, off on the right side. Cow flaps are in the open position for takeoff. Oh, I'm sorry. This is we had to edit, and I didn't reset the cow flaps. Now the cow flaps are set. Wing flaps, this will be a normal zero flap takeoff. Trim. Now the trim, what we do with the trim is we would slowly roll it backwards like this. All the way back. We roll it all the way forward. Like this. And you would just rub your hand across the top and roll it forward. Alright. And we want to make sure that there's nothing wrong with the system, with the elevator trim system. So roll it all the way back and all the way forward to make sure it goes through its full range of motion. Now, what we could do while we were doing that is, while you're rolling it, you could look back, and you can't in this aircraft, but some Piper Seminoles, you got a little window outside, and what you could do is you could actually, I guess you can't, this is the T-tail, but the trim tab that we're moving is right here. Okay. So trim set. Let's see. We want this trim tab slightly after the center point. Okay, so we have trim set slightly aft. Center point, seat backs erect, seat belts and shoulder harnesses adjusted and locked. Empty seats, make sure those seat belts are secure. Controls free and correct. What controls free and correct means is that what we'll do is we will wiggle the rudder pedals, and we will make sure that the controls are free and correct, meaning that there is nothing interfering with the full range of motion with the controls. Okay, because as we take off, we may have to put in certain control inputs. We don't want anything in the way, like your cup of coffee, your kneeboard. We want to make sure that that your flight controls, you can sufficiently put in full control inputs to control that aircraft when you need to be able to get that full range of motion. We will look at the cabin door, which is right there. We'll make sure that it's closed and latched. Air conditioner off for takeoff, and pitot heat is required. Okay, so that is our run up or ground. What's the other word for run up? Yeah. Ground check. Engine run up or ground check. This is our final stage before we take off, just to make sure that everything is good to go. Alright, now there's a takeoff briefing that we need to cover, and I'll briefly talk about it. This is a pre-takeoff briefing. If we have an engine failure or abnormality before rotation, we will abort throttles, and you would talk yourself through this. Alright, so if we have an engine failure prior to rotation, we will idle the throttles, and then we will brake as necessary. We will stop straight ahead if there is enough runway to stop. If we have an engine abnormality or failure, and we don't have enough runway, mixtures go to idle cutoff, fuel selectors go to off, battery off, maintain directional control, meaning we land straight ahead and we'd avoid obstacles. If we have an engine failure or abnormality after rotation with the gear down, if we have enough runway, say like something like a 10,000 foot runway, that is not the case in this case today. If we had enough runway, we would maintain directional control, close throttles, land straight ahead, and we would brake as required. Right. If we have an engine failure after rotation, gear up, and we have the decision made to continue, we'll maintain pitch, airspeed, and attitude. So maintain pitch, airspeed, and attitude is in here as well. Pitch and attitude, airspeed. We will maintain directional control, mixtures all the way forward, props all the way forward, and throttles all the way forward. So throttles, props, mixture, throttle, props. As long as everything comes up is the main idea. Alright. Flaps up, gear up. And it's kind of hard to see that landing gear indicator, but flaps up, gear up, and then whatever, let's say if the right engine was operating and the left engine stopped, we would have to add, if the right engine was operating and the left engine stopped, we would be adding right rudder in order to maintain directional control. So dead foot, dead engine, meaning we were not using this foot, dead foot, dead engine. So at that point, when we identify, we would close the left throttle, feather the left propeller, and we would bring the idle cutoff on the left engine. And when we climb out 88 knots, blue line, and we would declare an emergency, Now we'll still have the ability to climb at 88 knots indicated on the airspeed indicator. Alright, so that is our pre-takeoff briefing. Go ahead and release the brakes. Okay, fuel pumps are on, strobes on, nav lights on, landing light is on. At this point, and since we're in SimWorld, we don't have to talk to the tower at this point. But we would say Trenton Tower, November 2188 Delta is ready for departure, runway 6. And the tower will say November 2188 Delta, you're cleared for takeoff, runway 6. That's what the tower would say. And you would acknowledge the instruction by saying,
I'll
wait. You would say November 2188 Delta is cleared for takeoff, runway 6. That's how you acknowledge the tower instruction. So the tower knows that you heard what he or she said. Okay, nice little glance out into the approach area. And we'll just slowly take. Now the departure procedure. What we're going to do is we're going to advance the throttles up to 2,000. We're going to take a little glance momentarily at the engine instruments to make sure that they're all in the green. Then we're going to push the throttle all the way forward. Airspeed's alive. We're going to wait for 75 knots. At 75 knots, we'll rotate. After rotation, which is gently just pulling back, easing the nose wheel off the runway, and we let the wings aerodynamically take the weight off of the landing gear, and then the wings support the weight of the aircraft. We will take that up to about 500 feet AGL. We're at about 200 feet AGL. We'll just round down. We're at about 200 feet AGL above ground level. At 700 feet, we're going to fly 88 knots to 700 feet. Alright, after reaching 500 feet, so we're at 2, just look directly across the altimeter. At 700 feet, we're going to pitch for about 110 knots. Okay? And then we're going to reduce the throttle. We're going to reduce the throttle to 24 inches of manifold pressure. And the props are going to come back to 25. Alright. Our cruise setting, we will hit after 1,000 feet. And that will be 23 inches of manifold pressure, 2,400 RPMs. Just after rotation, when there's no available runway, we're going to raise the landing gear. That's the only thing. So, just a quick run through: 2,000 RPMs, check engine gauges, make sure in the green, advance throttle to full power, rotate at 75, climb out at 88. 88 will take that up to 500 feet AGL, which is 700. At 1,200 feet AGL, or at 1,200, which will put us at 1,000 feet above ground level, then what we're going to do is pitch for 110 knots and go to our cruise climb, which is 24 inches of manifold pressure, 2,500 RPMs, and then after that we're going to take that out to about 25. Yeah, let's take it up to 2,500 feet, and we'll just back that up as a memory aid in our autopilot. Just remind us, and the heading bug is set. Okay, so we're ready to go. Okay, releasing brakes, we're clear for takeoff. Like I said, we're going to slowly advance to 2000. Engine instruments are in the green. Full throttle. Looking for 75. Looking good. Airspeed is alive. 70, 75 knots. Rotation. Looking for 88. And we're pitching for it. One more available runway. Gear up. Okay, we got our runway heading. We're about 88 knots. 100 to go for 500 AGL. 500 AGL. We're pitching. 410 knots. Power is going to slowly as we pitch down. We're looking for about 100, 110 knots. Alright, add a little trim nose down. Looking good. Slightly right. Okay, we got 100. Still trimming. Alright, and we passed through 1,000, so at this point we're going to reduce our manifold pressure to 24 inches. And we're going to bring our props back to 25. Okay, so not so bad. We're slightly below 110. Trimming. Making the proper correction. Okay, and all in all, I'd say that was a good departure. We're going to keep it coming to 2,500 feet, 2,000 now, 500 feet to go. Nice and stable. And 2,500 feet is our target altitude, so we will pitch. We're not going to set our power yet, but pitch power trim. I'd like to trim it out for 2,500 feet. We're going to execute a right turn to east. Before we turn right, we're going to clear left by looking, making sure that there's no aircraft out there. There's no aircraft out there. Clear left, turn left. I'm sorry, clear right, turn right. Gentle right, standard rate turn. Nothing too tough. Okay, we're going to roll out 090 degrees, which is eastbound. Alright, so our pitch is set. We're going to set our power. Cruise power is going to be 2324. So we're going to bring our power back to 23, which we're kind of sorted there, and we're going to bring our prop controls to our engines to the instrument, and the RPM indicates 24. Okay, so then at this point we will execute our cruise checklist. Okay, we're level, so our engines are putting out pretty decent output, so go ahead, we'll turn our fuel pumps off. Landing light, just go ahead and turn that off. Mixtures, we will adjust. We don't need to adjust below 3,000 feet. And we will go ahead and we will close our cowl flaps. Now, these are dependent, like on a really, really cold day, you might need to leave them on. But we'll close left cowl flap and the right cowl flap. So cowl flaps are closed. Everything's easy breezy, looking pretty good there. Let's see. Let's just take a look. Okay, so up here, let's just take scenery. Let's see, probably see Philadelphia from here. 090063. Okay, so we go to. Okay, this is the Delaware River. Atlantic Ocean is straight ahead. And our cruise checklist is complete.